You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
What's the one thing in business that's spreading as fast as AI? AI risk. Every new tool your team signs up for, every vendor that turns on AI features, every new integration, each one is another opportunity for something to go wrong. And most security programs weren't built to keep up with AI's pace of growth. Enter Vanta. Vanta is the #1 agentic trust platform, trusted by more than 16,000 fast-moving companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Harvey to help them stay audit-ready. And now, Vanta helps companies like yours keep an eye on the risks that appear between audits across your vendors, your AI tools, and your entire environment. The Vanta agent works like a 24/7 GRC engineer in the background. It finds issues, drafts fixes for you, and can cut vendor assessment time by up to 50%. Whether you're a fast-growing startup or a global enterprise, Vanta is here to help you automate your security and compliance and earn and prove trust. Get started today at vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber. Hugging Face reports an autonomous AI-powered breach. Ernst & Young discloses a client data breach. Attackers are actively exploiting a critical ServiceNow flaw. Ransomware gangs sharpen their tactics against law firms. Capital One open sources an AI security tool. Text salting fools AI email filters. Hidden gambling apps slip into Apple's App Store. Federal agents arrest a Florida man accused of spreading malware through video games. We've got your Monday business briefing. Tim Starks from Cyberscoop discusses election integrity, and fake feathers lead to faulty findings. It's Monday, July 20th, 2026. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It's great as always to have you with us. Hugging Face disclosed that an autonomous AI agent breached part of its production infrastructure, gaining unauthorized access to a limited number of internal datasets and service credentials. The attack began when a malicious dataset exploited 2 code execution vulnerabilities in the company's data processing pipeline, allowing attackers to compromise a processing worker, escalate privileges, steal cloud and cluster credentials, and move laterally through internal systems. The company said it found no evidence that public AI models, datasets, spaces, or its software supply chain were altered. Hugging Face contained the incident, closed the vulnerabilities, rebuilt affected systems, rotated compromised credentials, and is investigating with external forensic experts while notifying law enforcement. Users are advised to rotate access tokens and review account activity. During the response, Hugging Face also found that safety guardrails in commercial AI models hindered forensic analysis, leading it to rely on an open-weight model running on its own infrastructure to investigate the attack more effectively. Ernst & Young is notifying clients that personal and financial information was exposed in a data breach involving a third-party service management platform used for tax-related work. Attackers accessed the platform between March 28th and April 12th and downloaded client documents containing sensitive information, including social security numbers, account details, and tax records. EY discovered the incident on April 23rd, launched an investigation with an external cybersecurity firm, and says there's no evidence of misuse. Affected clients are being offered 2 years of identity and credit monitoring services. Attackers have begun exploiting a critical ServiceNow AI platform vulnerability just days after security updates were released. The flaw, discovered by Searchlight Cyber, allows unauthenticated attackers to escape the platform's sandbox and achieve remote code execution in complex attacks. ServiceNow patched hosting instances and released fixes for self-hosted deployments on July 13th. Threat intelligence firm Diffused reported observing active exploitation in the wild, noting attackers are using a different technique than the published proof of concept to reach the same code execution path. Although ServiceNow's advisory still states it is unaware of active exploitation, the company urges customers to apply patches immediately. The platform supports more than 100 billion workflows annually and is widely used across Fortune 500 organizations. Ransomware attacks targeting law firms are becoming more sophisticated, with attackers increasingly impersonating IT staff, bypassing multi-factor authentication, and stealing sensitive data instead of encrypting it. Experts warn that criminals are also compromising backup systems, abusing trusted third-party vendors, and using remote access tools and screen-sharing platforms to gain persistent access. AI has made phishing and voice scams more convincing, while increasing the volume of security vulnerabilities firms must address. Security professionals recommend employee training, strict access controls, disabling unauthorized USB devices, limiting screen sharing, and conducting regular ransomware response exercises. They also caution that paying a ransom offers no guarantee stolen data will be deleted and could create legal risks. Ultimately, experts stress that firms of all sizes are potential targets and should prioritize preparation over assuming they're too small to be attacked. Capital One has open-sourced VulnHunter, an internally developed AI-powered security tool designed to identify and remediate software vulnerabilities at the code level. Unlike traditional vulnerability scanners, the tool uses an agentic reasoning workflow to identify exploitable flaws, map potential attack paths, and recommend targeted fixes while reducing false positives. Available on GitHub, VulnHunter currently requires Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.8 and a Claude Code environment. Capital One says the tool has helped identify and remediate vulnerabilities across thousands of internal code repositories and hopes open sourcing it will strengthen software supply chain security across the industry. Cybercriminals are increasingly using a technique called text salting to bypass AI-powered email security, according to Barracuda, which has detected more than 1 million retail-themed phishing emails using the method since April. Text salting hides benign words within emails to confuse machine learning and large language model filters while keeping the phishing message unchanged for human recipients. Attackers conceal the extra text using techniques such as CSS cropping, off-screen text placement, and zero-font formatting. Barracuda warns that many AI-driven content analysis tools process all text equally and may not distinguish between visible and hidden content, leading to misclassification. The company recommends a layered email security strategy that evaluates sender reputation, authentication, URLs, HTML rendering, and discrepancies between visible and hidden content, rather than relying solely on AI or keyword detection. An investigation from 9to5Mac has uncovered more than 60 App Store apps that allegedly conceal online gambling platforms behind simple games and utility apps. The apps behave normally for users outside Brazil, but when opened from a Brazilian IP address, they transform into betting platforms. Researchers found that many of the apps share common traits, including single-use developer accounts, nearly identical privacy policies, few or no updates, and small file sizes. The investigation also uncovered a public GitHub repository with instructions for creating these jacket apps, including how to remotely switch functionality, use generic branding, and avoid detection during Apple's App Store review process. The findings come as Brazilian regulators pressure Apple and Google to explain how they detect apps that hide gambling features and ensure only authorized betting services are available, adding to growing scrutiny of deceptive apps on major mobile marketplaces. Federal authorities have arrested 21-year-old Florida resident Zaire Wilkins for allegedly helping distribute malware through video games that infected roughly 8,000 computers and stole at least $220,000 in cryptocurrency. Prosecutors say Wilkins financed malware development and promoted infected games on platforms including Discord, Telegram, X, and LinkedIn, often targeting cryptocurrency holders. Once installed, the malware stole passwords, browser data, account tokens, and other sensitive information used to access victims' crypto wallets. Investigators linked the campaign to several games distributed through what court records describe as a popular digital game platform. Evidence allegedly included encrypted messages, blockchain transactions, and cryptocurrency-funded gift card purchases that helped identify Wilkins. He's been charged with conspiracy to obtain information from computers for financial gain. Turning to our Monday business briefing, cybersecurity companies continue to attract strong investment, led by Israeli identity management startup Oak, which emerged from stealth with a $60 million seed round to expand its security and AI platform. UK-based Valerian raised $50 million to accelerate its sovereign infrastructure offerings, while Israel's QIZ Security secured $17 million to advance its post-quantum cryptography platform. AI fraud prevention startup Reckon disclosed a $10 million seed round. Savvy Security raised $7 million to develop AI-powered family cybersecurity tools. And Spain's 8 Layers added 1 million euros to expand its identity security platform across Europe. The sector also saw several acquisitions, including Barracuda Networks buying identity security firm Evo Security, Cribble acquiring detection engineering company Cardinal Ops, Compass MSP purchasing The Logic Group, the 20 MSP acquiring Sundance Networks, and Presidio completing its acquisition of managed security provider Looking Point to strengthen its AI-driven security capabilities. Be sure to check out our business briefing on our website. It's part of CyberWire Pro. Coming up after the break, Tim Starks from CyberScoop discusses election integrity and fake feathers lead to faulty findings. Stick around. It is always my pleasure to welcome back to the show Tim Starks. He is a senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, welcome back.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Hi, Dave.
It has been a minute. I'm happy to have you back on the show. I want to spend our time together today talking about election security, election integrity, where we stand with all of that. Is it fair for me to say I feel as though we're in a funny place right now?
Yeah, funny is a strange word choice, I guess.
Yeah.
Unusual, different.
Yeah. You've been covering this along with some of your colleagues at CyberScoop. Kind of bring us up to date on what's the latest.
Yeah, so we had a little bit of a two-part thing, one part bigger than the other, but one was sort of a prelude to the other. We had Jay Clayton, the former SEC chair and current U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, testifying in support of his nomination to be the director of national intelligence. And he got a ton of questions from the Democratic side about where he stood on election issues. And this is where it starts to dovetail into the bigger part of what happened this week, related to questions of who he thought won the 2020 election, things he said about election fraud. And that was kind of a setup, if you will, for the big speech that the president gave on Thursday night that purported to demonstrate that the 2020 election was interfered with. There's nobody who thought he actually got that far to proving that. So it was a two-part place where, and we, obviously, since there's been a lot of discussion about the degree to which that speech was accurate in any way, shape, or form, or whether the things he declassified revealed anything new or that supported what he said, the consensus is no. It was either not new or it didn't support what he said, or both.
Yeah. I guess let's start at the core issue here, which is, as you mentioned, with Jay Clayton's meeting with Congress. How can we agree on things that need to take place, security measures that need to be put in place when it comes to things like elections and national security, when we cannot agree on some of the basic things here? And it seems to me like that's somewhat what the Democratic senators were trying to push through here. It was, can we call it a have you no shame moment with some of them?
I mean, I think John Ossoff, who might be a presidential candidate one of these days, specifically said, how can you do this and not be deeply humiliated? I'm not quoting his exact words, but that was the sense. How can you say these things and still have any sense of pride in yourself? It was very, he wasn't the only one to ask about this, but he was the one who maybe was the most scathing in his line of questioning, and his characterizations of what Jay Clayton was doing by avoiding answering who won the 2020 election. Was it Biden? Like every other nominee that has come into this administration, he said Biden was certified as the winner, but when asked if he won, he wouldn't answer that directly. And for the standpoint of the DNI's office, the case that the Democrats were pressing was, if you're going to be an intelligence official, your job is not to soft pedal things. Your job is not to appease the president. Your job is to give the president the true information that he needs. And if I think Mark Kelly pointed this out, another senator that might run for president, if you're afraid to say this when the president isn't here, he's not even in the room, how much can we trust that you'll be giving the true stuff to the president in person? Now, if there was some area where you were like, okay, this is at least the part that there seems to be some agreement on, the DNI's office, according to Clayton, in some of his questionnaire materials and others, was saying, it is the job of the intelligence community, as led by the DNI, to counter foreign disinformation. But, and this is another thing we probably can talk about, is his office going to actually be able to do that? They're talking about shrinking that office. They've been cutting a lot of personnel. When you get to the question of how can we talk about these things if we can't even agree on these basics, that's the one basic they do seem to agree on, but I don't think that anybody would agree on the how, or if they'll be able to.
Well, let's get to the recent speech from the president, which I think was remarkable on a number of fronts. First of all, many of the major television networks chose to not cover it live, which is unusual for when any president requests an audience with the citizens of the United States. That's generally covered far and wide.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, I think if you're looking at it just from the standpoint of newsworthiness, let's say you're not even getting into the questions of to what degree do you cover someone essentially saying lies, right? Separate from that question, the fact of the matter is that it was going to be hard for anyone to imagine that he'd say anything he hasn't said before. I mean, if you look at the clips of him talking about Lindsey Graham on Fox News right after Lindsey Graham passed away, he started launching into the 2020 election was stolen. I mean, he says it in every speech, every day, all week, all year, every time he talks. So I think that there's a justifiable thing there. Like, you're not going to make news. You're not going to say anything that is like about something of national interest because we've all heard it from you before. And then you get into the question of to what degree do you prop up something that you, as a reporter, if you're just doing fact-based reporting, know he's lied about extensively.
Well, let's get to the thing that directly affects our audience here, which is, in my mind, CISA. And again, staying with President Trump's speech, talking about the need for robust election security, his desire to push the SAVE Act, which he says will help with that. But then, how do you reconcile that against the huge cuts we've seen at agencies like CISA?
You're asking me to do something I don't think I can. I don't think I can reconcile it. Not just the cuts at CISA, but he talks about boosting election integrity, and at the same time, a week ago, I think it was, he fired the Election Assistance Commission members. This is about messaging. This isn't about the facts on the ground. CISA is an agency that was created under him, but he turned on it when Chris Krebs, the former director under him, used that platform to dispel election lies. And now, if you look at the 2024 version of Trump, the 2025, 26 version of Trump, he's undoing an awful lot of things he did to deal with election integrity. And a lot of people have talked about, give him some credit for that. People who aren't his biggest fans say, there were a lot of things that were created, mechanisms that were created, people that were hired under Trump the first time that he is completely undone. I think you have to say that he is not into such a strange territory to be a reporter to just flat out say things like this. But I think you have to look at what he's saying and what he's doing and say that they're completely opposite. If you think the SAVE Act would help with election integrity, and for what it's worth, almost nobody who works on election integrity does think that it does help with that, then you can try to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there, that at least with that, he's trying to practice what he preaches. But there's not anybody who believes that other than people who are completely on his side. There's nobody who's in the middle or who's a Republican Secretary of State. There aren't a ton of people backing him up. Even Republican Secretaries of State are saying the things you're doing to us are weakening our election security efforts. You'd mentioned CISA. They basically have gotten rid of the vast majority of anything they do on election security. The states have said we don't get the help that we need. All the things that we used to get from the federal government, we're not getting under this administration, be they Republican or Democrats. And then you have all the things like him requesting voter rolls, where some Republican states, secretaries of states, are saying that's illegal and it's not going to help anything. It's actually going to make things worse. So we're resisting that. And then he's saying we're going to punish those people by not giving them money. So just everything he's doing is not benefiting election integrity or election security, except for maybe if you give him the benefit of the doubt, in his mind, the SAVE Act.
Yeah, I guess it's such a strange situation to see with him with very low approval numbers, this combination of the networks deciding not to cover his speech. I guess what I'm trying to reconcile is the news organizations deciding that a major announcement from the President of the United States is not newsworthy, is not worth our time. And I'm trying to reconcile how we got here. How this is where we are. And as you say, it's hard to reconcile.
It is. I mean, this administration is hard to cover for about a billion different reasons. But one of them is, when do you decide to even write about the things he says, knowing that they might be contributing to a disinformation environment? When do you debunk it? When do you play it straight down the middle and say, this is what he said, this is what the other side says? He's made all of those things very difficult. And I'm not trying to get people to feel sympathetic for reporters here, but we are trying, all of them that I know, are trying to do an honest job of being fair and objective and honest, while also being cognizant of the fact that this is a leader who will say things that are just flagrantly wrong, and you have to debate. Do we repeat it and then debunk? It's an endless cycle of that, and I think that's exactly how we got here. It's just made it too difficult for reporters to make these kinds of judgment calls on a routine basis in any kind of way that's easy.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tim Starks is senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, thanks so much for your insights.
Yeah, happy to be here.
This episode is supported by Black Hat USA. If you follow the research, you know a lot of it breaks on Black Hat stages. Hundreds of peer-reviewed briefings, more than 100 hands-on trainings, and the largest business hall in Black Hat's history. 6 days to learn the skills you'll need tomorrow, August 1st to the 6th. Prices increase July 17th, so book before then. Use code CyberWire for $200 off your briefing pass at blackhat.com. We'll see you in Vegas. And finally, for bird watchers, spotting a rare visitor far from its normal habitat is a badge of honor. Unfortunately, artificial intelligence is proving to be an unwelcome addition to the flock. Researchers are warning that AI-generated and AI-enhanced wildlife photos could undermine citizen science platforms such as iNaturalist and the Macaulay Library, which scientists rely on to track species distributions and environmental change. While obvious fakes like a toucan in Siberia are easy to dismiss, more subtle edits are causing concern. In one case, an AI-enhanced photo of a common bird in Brazil mistakenly acquired features of a North American red-winged blackbird, creating a false sighting. Scientists say many photographers simply want prettier images, but even minor AI edits can introduce misleading details. With hundreds of questionable images already identified, researchers are urging nature enthusiasts to keep their editing light because conservation science works best when the birds are the only ones embellishing their feathers. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's lead producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our contributing host is Maria Vermazis. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Heading to this year's Black Hat USA, the N2K CyberWire team will be on site recording from our podcast studio in the Spectre Ops Kennel Club. If you're interested in joining us for a conversation or learning more about what we're recording throughout the week, visit sponsor.thecyberwire.com for more information. And make sure you stop by the studio and meet the N2K CyberWire team. We'll see you there.